Sometimes you have to look back to move forward, back to where it all began. Most legendary stories have one beginning. Ours, it has four. The gallant pioneers, the four lads who had a dream that continues to be our reality. Our badge is the embodiment of this dream. Since 1872, it's been our legacy. Sure, it's changed over time, but what it stands for has remained the same. It's built into the fabric of our club, the fabric of our city, the fabric of the four, inspired by the first and inspired by the past. We were here before everyone else. Glasgow is our city and Ibrox is our home. Pride, loyalty, glory. But it's more than that. It signifies a way of life, the success, the legends who came, who saw, who conquered, the legends who are no longer with us, the heartache, the joy, the euphoria. From the very beginning of our story, from there all the way to here, still winning, but never standing still. A celebration of the first 150 years. This is a memento of where we were, who we are now and where we are going. Getting ready for the next chapter. Our history is our present, and thanks to the four, we have a legacy of ready.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Richard Gough and Rangers take the lead. The pressure was Monty all the time. Came from the corner kick, and Albert's with the outswinger. Gough coming in here, got such good elevation, Hughes couldn't get him, and the header goes beyond Gordon Marshall. Once again, it's a tremendous left-footed cross at the box by Albert.
Okay, folks, good evening and welcome to Blue Heart 1872 podcast. Folks, tonight is probably one of the biggest names to ever play for our club, and that is Richard Gough. 2 1s out of 2 for Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, folks. What do you think? I thought they played quite well today. We're still 4 points clear. Obviously, before we bring Richard on, a few other things. Hopefully coming up soon on the podcast, we've got Alex McLeish will be joining us very soon, hopefully. And I'm hoping to have a few surprise guests on tonight as well to join Richard. But I'm not going to give that away yet in case it doesn't come off. But hopefully they will appear very soon. If I hit my button, folks, and get your questions coming in for Richard, and we'll get all the questions to him, as many as we can. My screen's loading already, and there's no way I'll get every question, and I can't repeat the same question. So, good evening or good morning, Richard Gough from California. How are we?
Good morning from San Diego.
Oh, lovely, lovely. How's your weather out there?
Yeah, it's great. It's great. I was up early watching the game this morning at 4:00 California time. So the 12:00 kickoff's an early one for me, but it was worth it to see Gio get his second win.
Yeah. Are you impressed? Are you impressed by Gio so far, Richard?
Yeah, I think, well, the first game, his first game up was the Sparta Prague one, and I thought the intensity was good. I thought it was better than it was, obviously, on the previous Sunday. And today was good. I mean, Livingston's always a hard place to go and get a result, but the boys did well today, and it's good for him to get 2 wins under his belt, because he's got we've got a few hard games coming up. I'm glad that we qualified for the Europa League, so he can maybe do something in Lyon, maybe change things up a wee bit if he wants.
Yeah.
But great start for him.
Yeah, and Richard, before we get into the gritty of this here, obviously it's been a few hard weeks for the Rangers fans, yourself particularly. We've lost Walter and obviously the manager leaving. But we've all seen the pictures from Walter's memorial service. Yourself, you flew over for it. Yeah. Memories of Walter, Richard, because we all know how close you were to Walter, and the players always say how close Gough was to Walter. Your memories of Walter?
Yeah, I think I go back with Walter Smith as a 17-year-old at Dundee United. It's a long time, 41 years. I met him in the February of 1980, and he was really a constant in my career, other than maybe my year at Tottenham, really, and the time I had in the United States.
Yeah.
And even from the United States, he brought me back to Everton for my last couple of years. So yeah, we were. You know, I mean, we weren't buddy, but we had a really good relationship, you know. And you know, I listened to my friend Alistair McCoy saying he was, you know, you could step out the peloton when he wanted to do, and I just thought there was a great description for it, because, like I said to him, I was probably as close to him as anyone. I could go and see him about problems in the dressing room. I could go and see him about personal problems. But you knew he was a gaffer, you know, you knew he was a boss. And so you never stepped over the line. You know, it was very sad. We knew what was happening, the ones who were close to him. Yeah. So it was very sad, and to come back into Glasgow was sad. But it was also good to see so many faces that you hadn't seen for a while, under circumstances that you really wouldn't want. But he got a tremendous send-off, and you know, I don't think in this day and age that someone's going to will go on and get as many trophies as he got for the club.
Yeah,
you know, so, yeah, very a very sad loss, and for me also a good friend.
Yeah. Okay, Richard. Richard, okay, so we'll start whenever, obviously, we're younger. We'll talk about this earlier. I don't get mixed up here. Born in Sweden, correct?
Yeah.
To Swedish mum, Scottish father, and then moved to South Africa.
Yeah,
all right?
Correct.
Yeah,
okay. Father from Hillington in Glasgow. He left Hillington when he was about 16 to join the British Army. He was a paratrooper. He captained the British Army team, and Charlton Athletic bought him out of the British Army in about, it would have been maybe 63 or 64. And then he obviously met my mum around in the early 60s, and they immigrated out to South Africa to play football.
Right.
And so that's how we landed up there in 1965. And then my dad played at a decent level out there when the standard was quite good. But I came back when I was about 15, 16 to try and become a football player, and I was lucky enough for my dream to come true.
Yeah. Coming back, Richard, who was the first club in to pick you up when you came back?
First club was played for Charlton Athletic. I went back to my dad's club.
Okay.
And I signed as you did back then. In 1978, I think it was as an apprentice professional, so really a 2-year contract. But I was very homesick at that time, and I stayed after a year at Charlton and stayed in a place called Woolwich, down in southeast London. Homesick at the time, so I never came back the following season, and they gave me a free transfer, which was good. And then I came across to Dundee United, like I said, in the February of 1980 when I was a wee touch older. Stopped at Rangers first and had a trial at Rangers because that was my first choice. My father being a supporter and the family being supporters of the club. Never turned down. And it was better that it never turned out, I think, because I went up to Dundee United, met Walter Smith and
Yep.
Jim McLean, and had a very, very strong team during that period as well. Ourselves in Aberdeen were very strong, and had great European runs. Managed to play in the European semi-final. Won the league with Dundee United at just turned 21. So that was a great start. And then from Dundee United in 1986, went down to Tottenham and had a good season down there. But landed at Rangers where I wanted to be.
Yeah.
In October of 1987.
Yeah, brilliant. Richard, we do a podcast here every week, obviously, before the Rangers games, and we've got regular guys come on. And there's a guy from Australia. He's up at 5 o'clock in the morning. He wants to come on and ask you a question. Okay.
Sure.
John McKinnon's his name. So, morning, John.
Morning, guys. How are you? Morning, Richard.
Hey, John. How are you?
Not bad, mate. Not bad. I've actually been in your company a couple of the Oscars over here, Darwin and down in Sydney, where we done the boat cruise around the harbour.
I remember Darwin as well.
Yeah, what I was going to ask you, I think I've mentioned this to you before, was you just spoke about it, your trial at Rangers. I was actually at the trial. I climbed over the wall with two of my mates at Queen's Park at Lesser Hampden.
That's right, yeah.
And we're standing watching it and we're saying, who's the big guy with the blonde hair? And it was you. Honestly, you were by far the best player on the pitch, and we were absolutely mystified why Rangers never signed you. And I think it was John Gregg was the manager at the time.
John Gregg, was funny, John Gregg, a quick story about that, and I just heard about it the other day. John Gregg had, they were away in Saudi Arabia, the team, and my father had played with a gentleman called Joe Gilroy, who's out in Australia somewhere at the time. And he had played for Clyde, I think, and he was involved with Queen's Park as well. Anyway, I went and played the game, and I actually knew I played very well. I had a good game, played well. And it was only recently that Greggy told me, Greggy and I did a thing together a couple of years ago. And the story came up, and because obviously Greggy had a bit of flack for not signing me as a 17-year-old. But Greg had said there was an issue between Willie Waddle and Joe Gilroy, somewhere along the line, And I don't really know. I didn't get too much of the story, but that was it. But it was quite funny because the following week I went up to Dundee United and played. I didn't play half as well in the trial, and Jim McLean signed me straight away. So they must have seen something. Him and Walter Smith must have seen something that they thought was okay. But I'm glad that you said that, John, that I've had a good game that
Unbelievable game.
I said to Gary, I said, maybe Rangers at that time wouldn't have. I think it was maybe better for me to be away from the limelight and playing with Dundee United and coming through the reserves and having a really good, Hegarty, Neri, Ralphie Mull, Malpas, Hamish McAlpine, really good squad of players.
Yeah. Okay.
All good.
Okay.
Thanks, Richard.
All right, John.
You got it.
All right, John. See you on, John. Bye-bye. Okay, Richard. So obviously we're at Dundee United, and then before the move. Now, Dundee United did not want to sell you to Rangers. They made it clear that they wouldn't sell you to Rangers.
No.
Point blank refused.
Point blank refused, because even for Walter Smith to go to Rangers at that time, and I know it's a long time ago, so people maybe don't remember the situation, that Walter went to Rangers because Rangers had sacked Jock Wallace.
Yeah.
So I think Walter had the last 3 or 4 games, the last two or three games, but Walter was a coach at Dundee United, and Rangers had to pay Dundee United money for Walter. Which was incredible. It was really that wasn't really heard of in that day and age. So Rangers actually paid for Walter to get Walter out of his contract to come to Rangers.
Yeah. So obviously refused to sell you to Rangers, but down to Spurs you went then. That's
down to Spurs. I It was a fantastic period. Spurs, we finished third in the league. Got to the League Cup semi-final. Got to the FA Cup final. Had fantastic players: Glenn Hoddle, Chris Waddle, Ozzy Ardiles. Clive Allen scored 49 goals that year, and had a terrific season. And at the end of that season, I signed a new 5-year contract.
Yeah.
Little to know, within a couple of months, I would be on my way up to Glasgow. I think Rangers had put an offer in, which was they doubled. I think I signed for Tottenham from United for about £750,000. It doesn't sound much money these days, but
no, it's a lot of money then.
And then Rangers doubled the fee, I think. And they Tottenham said that I could go up and speak to them if I wanted, and that's what I did. And it went on to be the happiest 11 years of my football career, anyway, by a long way.
Yeah. We'll take a few questions coming on the screen now. So, Richard, sure. Scott Daly, what was your most favourite moment in a Rangers top?
That was a difficult one because when I picked up 9 in a row, I was in my Rangers suit. It wasn't my top.
Correct.
It wasn't a Rangers
That's
top.
Correct.
That was the be all. That was the be all for me, and Scott. But my favourite memory in the Rangers top, I think my home debut against Celtic. About October the 3rd, when we were down to 9 men and we managed to come back, and I scored the equaliser. At Ibrox to make it 2-2. That was. I think someone was looking down on me and thinking, well, that was my first time in the Rangers top at Ibrox, and managing to score the winner against our great rivals.
Yeah.
I think I just thought there was a couple of. I played against Celtic quite a number of many times, and I scored 4 goals against them, and they were all. We weren't on the losing side in any of them. So I think those were moments that I'll always remember. They'll always stay with me. The League Cup final, which was my first as a captain, scoring the winning goal in extra time against Celtic, coming between Packy Bonner and Chris Morris, the back post. The header in the 9 in a row season, which I think you showed there. That was one of my better.
I was at that game. I was there myself.
Yeah, that was a great header because that put us 1-0 up, and
then Gazza scored.
That was a 9 in a row season.
Yeah,
Gascoigne scored late on. Then in my final season at Ibrox, when I scored the winner against them as well, which unfortunately we never went on and got the 10. We should have, but as players we kind of blew it at the end of the season.
Yeah,
but So those would be 4 moments that were really great moments, and people always come up to me and they remember those games as well,
Yeah, okay. One from John Gilbreth. Greatest player, Richard, you played against and with?
That's probably the greatest player I played against, and it was in the rest of the world game. It was probably Maradona, I would imagine. I know it wasn't a proper game, so I would say Maradona would be the best player that I've ever played against. Although, like I said, it was a game for the 100th England FA centenary, I think.
Yeah.
Played against many good players during my time. But I always remember Marco van Basten when I played against Scotland, against Holland, being one of the, just he had a reputation and he lived up to the reputation. I thought he was a terrific player. He was a big lad, and he was like a ballet dancer. He was great balance, and he was playing for AC Milan at the time. And he was a terrific player. So that would be the two, I would say. That was the best I played against, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and Philip Lynn on YouTube saying, Richard, now I knew this was going to come up. Richard, would Goldson have got away with what he said after Hibs game in your dressing room?
This has been this spoke about with Rangers supporters over the last week. I didn't think it was, and I'm sure he would admit it himself. He would must probably say it wasn't a great interview. We've all been caught in the cameras and saying things that have maybe been misinterpreted or whatever. So look, he got a lot of criticism after that game from, I would imagine, from the boys in the dressing room as well as because he was questioning the hunger. I would imagine he would have taken a bit of criticism in the dressing room. I would hope he would have. But the boys, the team has come back well on the back of that, the last two games, and they played well. So, but for me, you can't, the big clubs, you just can't turn up when you want to. At Rangers, you've got to be up. You got to be every game. You got to turn up, and that's the thing. You just can't turn up. I mean, it was a very disappointing game against Hibs in the semi-final, and we have in the cup over the last 2 seasons. I can remember we've lost daft games. In quarterfinals and the semi-final when we had a right good chance to get ourselves into the final. So we've got to put that right, But Rangers is a club where you have to win every game. Yeah, it's one of those clubs, and it doesn't matter how you get there, but you've got to win the game. So when I was fortunate enough to play, when I had a lot of good characters in the dressing room, a lot of strong characters in the dressing room. Not easy to handle, most of them. But that was a good thing as well. But I think we all got the best out of each other during that time. Yeah, so I don't think Connor Goldson would have. I think there would have been a few words said to him, and I'm sure there was with the experienced players that we've got in our dressing room at this time, with Alan McGregor and Stephen Davis and people like that, and the captain himself, James Tavernier. I'm sure they would have had something to say as well. Yeah,
because obviously I read in the quote from yourself, was in the papers, was doing over here, was like you questioned actually why Tavernier didn't come out and face the cameras as a captain. In your day, that's what you done. You come out as a proper captain and face the cameras.
Yeah, a few people have said that to me, that the players are picked before the game by the TV. By the TV people, and I said, yeah, that's sometimes true. And they were picked in my day as well. They were picked before the game. But if you didn't want to go out to the cameras, you didn't need to. And then, after you had lost the game, maybe you'd been picked before and you didn't want to go out. But Walter Smith always used to say to me, Richard, when we lose games, on you go. You're the head of the dressing room, or whatever you want to call it. You just go and face the music and explain to the press why we lost today. It was never easy, but that's what comes with being a Rangers captain. So there may have been some kind of misunderstanding why James never went out there, but nothing's been said about it. So, I just thought that was I just thought at the time, that was my feelings at the time, and the truth that I thought at the time. And nothing much has been said. But you know what? The boys have come and back and had a very good victory against Sparta Prague, and a good victory today. So they must just keep on going. If I can give a bit of criticism that and can get them playing a wee bit better, I'll do that every week.
Yeah, very good. Because we talked earlier, Richard, off before we came on live about you having a wee pop in the papers before. Actually, you were telling me that Walter had asked you to drop it into the papers.
Yeah, I mean, Archie Knox. I can remember Archie Knox putting up articles from other players, from other managers, just to putting them up in our dressing room to wind us up a wee bit and saying, look what these guys are saying about us, So that just helped us on our way a wee bit. Yeah, and I did. I can remember in Walter's second season at the club that I'd met him for a coffee, and I was working for the newspapers at the time, and he said, well, he was talking about the aggressiveness. I was talking about the aggressiveness of his team at that time, and he said, well put something in the paper, Goughy, and I said after the games, and this is how clever he was, and I said something after one of the games that Rangers lacked the aggressiveness. So, I think we played, it was a European game. I always remember it was a European game. I can't remember who it was against, but it was a European game, and I'd said they lacked the real aggressiveness, that you normally should always have against the European teams. And anyway, the headline the next morning was, Gough says Rangers are wimps, something like that. It was a real bad headline, and I had Davey Weir phoning me up and saying, Goughy, as an ex-captain of the club, you can't say this. I said, Davey, I never said that you wimp. I just said you lacked the aggressiveness. Anyway, Walter had put it up in the dressing room the next game and said, listen, look at the ex-captain's giving you a hard time, so let's go out, So obviously he used it to his advantage, which he did all the time. So, like I said, when you play for Rangers and you lose games, you get criticised. When you play for Manchester United, you lose games, you get criticised. As that's what's happened now with Manchester United. They lose 3 or 4 games, and Solskjaer is on his way. So at the big clubs, this is what you expect, and Rangers is the same thing.
Yeah. Okay. Again, it's another question about Goldson. So basically, the guy's saying he's lacking hunger in the last couple of months. Richard, do you think we should sell him in January? Point is keeping someone who's lost heart. Can we afford to sell Goldson? Would you ship him out?
No, I mean, I think Van Bronckhorst, Gio would have had a word with him. I'm sure. I think he said he did in his press conference the other day. He said he spoke to all the players. So he's got to work that out in his own mind. Us as supporters, and you've got to remember now, Gary, I'm a supporter now as well. So I'm not in the dressing room. I'm a supporter, and I have my own views on that. But yeah, I think it was disappointing with everyone, and I'm trying to give Connor the best the way I can go around it by saying, like he got caught. I always think he got caught in the headlights, maybe, and his words were wrong. The lack of hunger. I mean, to say that was as a Rangers player wasn't great. It wasn't great for all our supporters after the 3-0. So no, I think he's got to play very well just to do the best he can till he's out of contract. I think at the end of the season. Normally when a player runs down his contract, that means that he's probably going to go, or he does want to go because he's seemingly been offered, good money by the club, and but Rangers are bigger than any player, So I can remember in my time at Rangers, since when I signed in 1987, I signed a contract, and David Murray and Walter Smith or whoever it was never let me get within 2 or 3 years of the end of my contract. So I was always on
contract.
They always came to me when I had 2 years left. We want to give you another contract. We want to, make it another 4 years, whatever it was. So I wanted to stay at the club. So I never tried to get my contract to the end, But it's changed days now, Gary. Changed days.
Yeah.
So the power is very much with the players these days, and I think if Connor Goldson wants to stay with the club, he'll stay with the club. But I think that's going to be very much down to the new manager, Gio Van Bronckhorst.
Yeah. Okay. Richard, just on that, would you, and obviously the time you played, and you look at today's players, and obviously it's not all about money, but they earn so much money these days.
Yeah.
Would you still like to be playing today? In
Um,
today's, the way football is?
yeah. I mean, you can't pick and choose when you play. I mean, I was one of the best players, most probably in Britain during the period that I played for the football club. You know, so I can't complain about anything. I know today that I would be if I was playing today, I would be earning a lot more money than I was. But at the time that I was captain in Rangers, like I said, I would have been one of the best paid players in Britain during that period. As was Terry Butcher, as was we the players we had at that period of time, Brian Laudrup, Paul Gascoigne. We were all very well looked after by the football club, and otherwise we wouldn't have been there.
Yeah. Okay. And just as you bring that name up, James E. Robertson said, Richard, did Gazza ever play any pranks on you?
Not really.
He was scared of you.
He was, but I can remember the first day that he came in. I'd spoken to it was actually Gary Mabbott who called me and said, "Oh, by the way, you've signed Paul Gascoigne." I said, "Well, that's great news, He went, "Oh, but he was a Tottenham captain at the time." He said, "He's a handful, Goughy, in the dressing room." I said, "Well, no, we've got some big characters up here. We'll be able to handle him, no problems, So I said to Mabbott, "What does he do?" And Mabbott told me some of the stuff that he did in the dressing room. And I said, "Well, if he does that, cutting people's suits up and stuff like that, So I said, if he does that up here, then he'll get knocked out, So right enough, first day, Jimmy Bell's put him right next to me, And I can remember saying to him, I said, "Look," he said, "I'm looking forward to play with you, Goughy, a centre back who can pass the ball and blah, blah, blah." And I said, "Listen, enough of the nonsense." I said, "If you touch my touching," I said, "I'm just going to knock you out, right?" And he looked me up and down, and the dressing room was full. Everyone was there, And he said, he looked me up and down. He said, "I only, cut up Armani and Versace. I don't do Marks and Spencers, So he's floored me right away with that one. So the dressing room were up there, they loved it, So.
Yeah.
I know, but he was great. He was terrific for our dressing room. I think he was really hard to handle for Walter Smith.
Yeah.
But on the field, he was great. Most of the time.
Yeah.
Most of the time, he was great. I keep going back to Gascoigne and saying he got sent off in Dortmund. I think he got sent off in Ajax.
Yeah.
We had a chance, and so we're playing against 10 men against these really good teams. So. But most of the time, he was a fantastic player. And I always say that if I had a man if my life was on the line, and I had one man to maybe save my life on a football field, he'd be the one,
Yeah, brilliant. Obviously, a lot of, every time we have these Q&As with players, from your era, Richard, they always ask, who was a better player, Gascoigne or Laudrup?
That's a very difficult question to answer, because there were two completely different types of player. Like I say, Gascoigne was very off the cuff. Laudrup was more just had that much ability and just always picked the right pass or the right his consistency was really good during the club, because Walter gave him a freedom that he had at maybe AC Milan when he was there, or some of the other clubs there. He was Fiorentina before he came to us. so you can't really pick between the two. I think they were both as important to us, during their period Gascoigne, Laudrup more consistent. Gascoigne, just like I say, could win you the game. I can remember two that stand out for me games in the semi-final, the final of the League Cup, Hearts.
Yes, Hearts. I was at that. Yeah,
when he scored a couple. Aberdeen at home when he scored a couple of great goals that only someone like him could score. But Laudrup over the piece as well was, just a fantastic player, electric player, and made so many goals for McCoist and Hateley's and stuff like that, and finished goals for himself. So but we gave those two boys, I think, were good players. When they came to the club, they enhanced our team, but we also gave them a good base to go from. Because I can remember Walter coming to me when we got the two players, and we spoke about how we were going to change the defence, how to set up a wee bit differently. We went to three at the back when we had the two boys, mainly so we could keep them spare, try and get them free as soon as we got the ball. We played a bit more on counter-attacking type of game when we had those two in. So we played three at the back, and Davy Robertson and whoever was on the right-hand side at that time. Alec Cleland was, so yeah, different type of football that we played with those two boys when they came, and but it was really. Maybe through 6, 7, 8, 9, for going for the titles. I think some of the football that we played during that period was as good as Rangers supporters had seen for a long time. I know the team in 88 and 89 and 90 under Graham Souness was a very strong physical team, but for flair and excitement, I think the latter stages of 8 and 9 were 7 and 9 were tremendous to watch for our supporters as well.
Yeah, I just take you back here, Richard. You talk about Gazza. He doesn't cut up Marks and Spencer suits, only Versace and Armani. Who in the dressing room was the Versace and Armani wears? Hateley had to be one of them.
Oh, Hateley, it was big Mark with the orange, the yellow suits, and but when Big Mark came, he had a lot of the Versace stuff and the Armani gear and all stuff like that. So he was a dresser. He was a top dresser and stuff like that. So
was it? Yeah.
It was good. It was a good dressing room. Real good dressing room.
Well, Richard, I've just got a message, and it's from Marco Negri. Yeah. He says, say ciao to the handsome big man. To the handsome, that's his English. The best looking striker, I think he means that you've ever played with. He's the best looking striker. That's what he's saying.
The best looking striker, yeah.
That's what he's saying. Right.
He was good. I've always gotten. I mean, I keep in touch with Marco. I've always gotten very well with him. Even when he was at the football club, he was quiet. He was called Moody, but he was always brand new with myself. So I always gotten well with him, and he did his job. He put the ball in the back of the net, and I think that was one of the main reasons why we never got 10 in a row that year, because we missed him. We missed him a lot. He was out for about 3 months. Yeah, from January, I think, right through to April, I think. And then we missed him a lot because he had started off I think he had scored 35 goals that season or something, or 30 goals
before Christmas. Yeah,
before Christmas, it was incredible, and what a finisher he was, by the way. Whew, unbelievable,
Marco. Yeah. So just a comment there from Mark on Facebook. I don't know. Not only was Richard one of the best defenders I've seen at Rangers, arguably the best, but he was the most professional with unrivaled winning mentality and knew how to handle himself in many victories and defeats with the class and dignity. Thank you for your service to our club, Richard. So nice comment there.
Yeah, nice. Thank you. I can remember, people say to me about, one of my last games for the club was my last game for in the league for the club was up at Dundee United, and we lost 2-0. We won 2-0, sorry, and then Celtic won got the title. And one of the first questions that came to me was, you haven't got a 10, and I said straight away, and I always remember, I said straight away, I said, I congratulate Celtic Football Club on winning on the league, and that was when they had won it. And for the first time, I got about 2,000 letters from Celtic supporters saying you showed a lot of class and a lot of respect. It was a lot of respect. And then the next week, we played against Hearts in the cup final and got beat again.
Beat again, yeah.
And I got Walter rolled me out as well. I said congratulate Hearts on winning the Scottish Cup final, but. Your man's right there. I mean, I was fortunate enough to be on the receiving end of many winning trophies. I was fortunate enough to win 18 trophies with the football club, and but we lost a few as well. Lost a few along the way as well. I can remember about maybe 6 or 7, so that was hard to take. But I always thought that you had to be respectful to the other clubs when they managed to get the better of you. And as a Rangers captain, I thought I was respectful to the other clubs.
Yeah, pure class. Richard, obviously one of the questions here has come in, it comes up all the time. Do you reflect on the 92-93 European run with pride or frustration?
A bit of both, really. A bit of both, because a lot of people say to me when Marseille cheated their way into that final. And I tell people that that Marseille team never needed to cheat at all. They were such a good team that I don't think they knew anything about it. Maybe their president was doing things behind the scenes with the referees and stuff like that. But the 2 games that we played against them, there was no hint of anything before the games, or after the games or anything like that. They were just a right good team, and it gave me a lot of pride that we managed to take them right to the wire, so to speak. If we had managed to beat them at their own stadium, then we would have got through to the final, which would have been an incredible achievement for a Scottish team to get through to the final, of the Champions League at that time. But I think we missed Big Mark that night. He had been sent off against Bruges, and people said, "Well, the referee had sent him off." But if you look back at the incident, I think Mark, he left. It was a southpaw, it was a left hook, didn't he? I think he gave the lad, so he deserved to get sent off. I think, but people were saying that the referee was going to try and send him off anyway, and it becomes. The conspiracy theories and the conspiracy theories have got worse. But I always tell people, Marseille, they wouldn't have known anything. I think their chairman was, the president of the club was Tapi at that time. And he was going around to the referees and trying to, I think, bribe them or something like that. But that team, I promise you, that team needed, they didn't need any referees helping them along the way. That was bought. Rudy Voller up front, Boxic, Deschamps in the middle of the park, Abidi Pele, Barthez was the goalkeeper, and Gloma, Boli,
Desai played.
Desai as well. Yeah. Remember that? I mean, right through their team, they were top class.
Yeah, and then obviously after that season, we ended up signing Boli.
Yes.
Right now. Did Walter? Do you think they made a mistake there, and they should have went for Desai? Do you think they got it wrong?
I think Desai was a better player than Boli. That'd been proved over the piece. But I think we made a mistake, because the way Basile played. Basile was a great guy for the dressing room as well. He was brilliant in the dressing room, but he was a man marker. He was. He rarely was. He wasn't too clever with the ball. And his game was just marking the centre forward out of the game, and our system was very different. We were playing that at that time. We were playing just a normal back four, and you had to, you know, he was playing obviously alongside myself, and you had to cover, and you know, we were staying in our zones and stuff like that. But he was going all over I knew straight away. Right? he was coming right across and following the striker right across, you know, instead of passing him on. So yes, we had a few problems. We worked it out. But it was problematic at the time. I think Walter put him at right back, I think. As well, and he wasn't having that, you know, Basile. So, a good story with Basile. I can remember him once. There was a story with him. Basile came in one day, and his first day at the training ground, he wore a tracksuit. And as everyone knows, during that time of the club, we had to wear collar and tie. So I said to him, I said, Basile, you need to wear a collar and tie because otherwise you're going to get fined, you know. The manager's going to fine you, you know. He says, well, how can you find me? I've scored the winning goal in the European Cup final. I says, Basile, you're going to get fined. You're going to get fined. So, you know, all the boys were loving it. You know, so the next day he comes in, you know, with his tracksuit on, but he had a tie on. He had a tie with the tracksuit. He come in, and all the boys just burst out laughing. And Walter did as well. You know, he burst out laughing, and it was great because the next day, from that day onwards, he was the best dressed man. He had the best suits. He had handkerchiefs coming out his top pocket. He was just magic. You know, magically dressed. You know, it was great. But that was a dressing room, and how clever Walter was with the foreign players as well during that period. You know.
Yeah. Richard, good question here from Scott Walker. Richard, who was your boyhood hero?
I saw him last night on the TV. I watched the documentary on Bobby Moore, and it wasn't Bobby Moore, to be fair, but looking at that documentary last night on Bobby Moore, I think it should have been Bobby Moore. But Franz Beckenbauer was, for me, I can remember my father going to the 1974 World Cup, and he said about Beckenbauer being as good as defender that you'd ever seen, you know, and he'd seen him in the flesh in 1974. I can remember going up with Ralph Moan. He was playing in the early 80s for Hamburg, I think he was, and they played Aberdeen in a knockout, you know, game. And I went up to see him, and he must have been 34 or 35 at the time, coming to the end of his career. And he wasn't called the Kaiser for nothing, you know. He just never looked in trouble. Just in total command of everything, total command. His good use of the ball, just read the game magnificently. He was quick. He was strong when he needed to be. He was just. So that was my boyhood hero. So I'm glad I got to see him and play in the flesh. And never played against him, obviously, but got to see him in the flesh. You know, up playing for I think it was for Hamburg. I think against up at Aberdeen.
Yeah. Okay, Richard. We talked earlier on about Gazza cutting suits and who had the Versace suits. Well, the big man's here to join us, and it's Mark Hateley.
Evening, Richard.
Hey, Mark. How are you, son?
Not bad. Just getting ready for my glass of red wine, and then in front of the fireplace and telly on. That's what I'm looking forward to.
I see you got a few of those kits in the background as well.
Aye. Some of the past walking here, it reminds you of what we did and how we went about it, sort of stuff. One over there.
Nice, good ones. Yeah.
So Mark, Gough is telling the story about Gazza when he arrives, about suits. He wanted to cut suits up, and Gazza says to Gough, "I only cut up Armani or Versace suits. I don't touch Marks and Spencers." So, did your suit get touched, Mark?
I know that Paul is a bit daft, but he's not that daft.
I know.
Not that daft.
Brilliant. Okay. Obviously, a question I want to ask the two of you. Obviously, your teammates for years. Did you ever play against each other competitively?
Don't think so. We play competitively every day in training, Richard, eh?
I can remember I was on the bench for Scotland under-21 game. It must have been about 19 or something. And England played Scotland in an under-21 game. I think Mark got sent off with Ray Stewart, was it? Did you get sent off that day, Mark? Did you get sent off?
I did. Yeah, I kicked Ray Stewart in the nuts.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. So that would be the closest I got, to playing against Mark. But to be fair, I wouldn't, as a central defender, I wouldn't have liked. He was one of the few players I wouldn't have liked to have played against.
No, been a good tussle.
He was very good in the box with cross balls. So he's one of those centre forwards which would have given you a hard time. You would win the odd header, but I'm sure you would lose a lot of the headers as well. So you would make it very difficult for you.
Yeah, absolutely. But see when you're training together anyway, Richard, invariably you're up against each other, even in five-a-sides, little games and all that sort of stuff. And the way we used to train, we were battle fever, weren't we? It was full on training sessions. It was like,
but that's why I always try to get on your side in the training. I'd rather play against McCoy than against you.
Yeah.
Right, brilliant. All right, so for the pair of you, David Robertson says, any good stories about the legend Jimmy Bell?
Loads.
Well, I'll tell you Jimmy. I came in not even when I was captain of the club, and if I wanted a jersey or something, he wouldn't give me a jersey. They were like all his own jerseys, you know what I mean? I said, Jimmy, they're not your jerseys. They're the club's jerseys. I need a jersey from you. It's for a charity. Oh, it was torture getting anything from Jimmy, and he's never changed. He's never changed.
Unbelievable. Like trying to get a shirt, trying to keep your shirt after the game.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I see people throwing their shirts into the stand now and stuff like that. You didn't do that with Jimmy. You never did that with Jimmy. I tell you. It'd be good.
No. Right. Good question for both of you here is obviously Richard and Mark now. Would be interested in your thoughts. Has money ruined football?
For me, I don't think it's ruined football. I don't think it's ruined football because I always think that the players at the top level would play for a pound anyway because they were always going to get to the top clubs. They were always very, very driven to play. But I think there's a lot of average players now making a lot of money. So I wouldn't say it's ruined football. It's just the way it's gone. With the Premier League getting so much money that it's just the way it's gone.
They're just Gary. They're just a product of the market that they work in. That's just the nature of the beast. The sport has grown arms and legs over the last 20-25 years.
Yeah,
and you can't see it stopping. You got massive big companies and organisations now getting involved in football. As I say, when you're dealing with, I'm going to say probably football is probably the most high profile sport on the globe. All right, and so when you're trying to market that and sell that or own that, then what comes with that is a big number, and within that, you've got the product, which is the player.
Yeah, but surely, like you, especially yourselves from that successful Rangers team, you must look now at the Premier League in England and think, well, them players, some of them are bang average, and they're on the amount of money they're getting paid is unbelievable. Bang average players.
Yes, but it's not their fault. They're just in that market. That's how it is.
Yeah,
I'm sure Bobby Charlton and Bobby Moore looked at myself and Mark and saying, "Look at those bang average players."
Oh no,
you know what I'm saying? Well, we never got that, so it's just like you say, it's just that's what it is.
Yeah, and obviously, we know that Mark Richards obviously got a book coming out Which was it out Thursday, Mark? Out on Thursday past?
Yeah,
Thursday?
it came out midnight Thursday night, and I had my first book signing at Waterstones on Sucky Hall Street in Glasgow on Friday, along with Graham Souness came along, who did the forward for me.
Yeah.
And it went really, really well. A lot of people turned up, so thank you for that and your time. And Graham's train was slightly late coming into Glasgow, 15-20 minutes. So as you do, I threw him under the train, said it was his fault that they had to queue and wait and hang around, sort of stuff. So but they were all really, really good. It was a full on, I'm going to say, a couple of hours of signing. It went really, really well. I'm well pleased.
Yeah. And obviously, Mark, you're coming down to Portsmouth. That's all agreed now, isn't it, for the 11th of December?
I think is that Saturday the 11th? Yeah.
Saturday the 11th. You're down in Portsmouth, so you're going to be at Fratton doing your obviously half time at the club, and also you'll be doing a few pubs around Portsmouth, book signing sessions. Yeah,
probably on a Friday night. The Friday night probably. Maybe depending on the demand, obviously, Gary, and you know the market down there. Whether I'll do like a Saturday lunchtime or a Saturday morning before the Portsmouth.
Yeah.
So, well, I want to try and please as many people as we can while we're down there. I've not been down there for a long, long time. Still got a lot of good friends down there as well. I want to give it a good shot for them.
Yeah, good. Now, Mark, obviously, Richard was your captain at Rangers. What was he like as a captain?
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Took all the responsibilities of looking after us, basically, and everything that came with us. Massive egos, lots of problems every now and then, and the captain would, take that all on board. Whether it needed to have a go and have a chat with the manager or the chairman, or both. That's what Richard did, and that's why he's a great leader of men, great captain, one of my best captains that I worked with. I don't like to say under, because when you're working with a captain, we're all trying to make the team better. Richard.
Yeah, so I was fortunate, Gary, that I had so many good players and so many leaders in the team who could have been captain as well. So that made my job a hell of a lot easier. Please believe me.
Yeah. Obviously,
got him home at night. Got him home at night on a few occasions as well.
Well, when you say that there, Mark, I was reading something earlier on, but Gough had said, as a team, we won together, we lose together, and we party or drink together. Obviously, a few good nights out, everybody, involved.
Well, I can't remember half of them. That's how good I'm telling you.
Yeah, they were good, but I always say to people, say to me, the team. There was a quote that I had said: "The team that drinks together wins together." Now, if we had drunk as much as we were supposed to, we wouldn't have won as many trophies as we did. I would get the guys together. I'm not sure what the other boys did at certain times, but I would get the guys together as a whole squad of us. Mostly when we lost the game. If we did happen to lose a game, we would go down to La Parmigiana for a bite to eat, and
we hardly ever went out then, Richard.
So that was more, maybe it was once a month, maybe it was once every couple of months, where we all get together as a team itself, and go and have a good get together type thing, And the manager knew about it as well. I would tell a manager we'd have the next day off for training, so it was all well organized type thing, So. Yeah. But it was a good team spirit. I would say we had a very good team spirit right through that period. There was no real bad apples in the team dressing room, which was very, very good.
It wasn't allowed, Richard.
Yeah. I mean, it was very quickly sorted out if there was any, and they wouldn't be at the club too long if it was,
Yeah, brilliant. Obviously, another question that's come in there is obviously the difference in playing under Souness and Walter Smith. What was the difference?
Well, Mark and I had had both managers. I think Graham was more, as a younger manager, he was more volatile. He could be, and that suited myself and Mark because we were used to, that kind of management. It wasn't gonna. We were more of the we'll show you. If we got criticism, we would be like, we'll show you type thing. Where some other players would crumble. Walter Smith's, I think, man management was definitely better than Graham's man management. I think Walter's was more, Graham would more or less like to treat everyone the same way in a lot of ways, whereas Walter could understand maybe myself and Mark would be wanted treated one way and other players would be treated another way, and you couldn't treat them all the same. I think that's where Walter's man management was terrific.
Yeah. For you, Mark?
I was going to say, who's got the squeaky chair, Gary? Is that you?
It's you, or it's Richard, I think.
No, it's not Richard. Me. I'm not moving.
Is it me? Is it?
You. Yeah.
Is it? Oh, right. Okay, I can't hear my headphones.
Sit still, man.
Right. Okay. We're chatting there for Mark. For you, Mark, obviously Walter are playing under Graham Souness. For you, I mean, the difference in the pair.
Graham managed like the same as his character. There was a difference. What you saw was what you got with Graham. Graham is that character. He's a great believer in himself. Very positive, very direct, no grey areas, and he just tells you as it is. If there's a fight there to be had, he'd be straight in it, first in it, head first in it. I was with him yesterday for a bit of a lunch, and he's telling us about the Scott Nisbet things and the Durant situations and all that sort of stuff, where everybody's walking off with a bag of ice on their heads, and all triggered by the manager.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Oh, I can remember them all. Graham gave some of the best team talks I've ever heard. In my time as a manager, because it came from the heart, really did.
Yeah.
And you were going out there, and you were wound up. He was great. The two of them were very different in the way they managed, but both very successful for me.
Yeah.
So
there's the immortal line from Graham, right? If we're having a bad time, somebody kick somebody, punch somebody, or start a fight. That's true words, honestly.
Right. So, out of the pair of them, who was the fiercest in the dressing room if things weren't going right?
Well, they were different, like I say. They had. And this was, I read an article where Graham said he was lucky enough to have had leaders in his dressing room. So most of the time they were all sorted out before he even got into the dressing room. And Walter was the same as well. Walter, I can remember, when sometimes he would give me a wink when we were losing at half time, because he knew the boys in the dressing room would sort it out before he even got into the dressing room, And we didn't need a manager a lot of the time. In our team, because you had the likes of Mark, you had Alistair McCoist, you had John Brown, you had a lot of real strong characters in the dressing room we would be in around, we would get into each other before the manager even came into the room. So his work was done, and the senior professionals run your dressing rooms. There's no doubt about that, and they're a huge help to the manager. And I think Graham Souness and Walter Smith tried to get really good professionals, whether it was like Ray Wilkins, Mark, so Terry Butchers, these people ran the dressing rooms themselves.
Yeah. Because I remember chatting to George Alberts, and it was early on this time at Rangers. And I don't know the game, but I think it was a draw or a defeat. And he says he's come into the dressing room and Archie Knox is in there. And Archie Knox is going through the players. And George thought, it can't get any worse. And he says, the door open, Walter came in. He said it was fucking 10 times worse.
Yeah, those are the days of the not good cop, bad cop. They were both bad cops.
Yeah, unbelievable. Yeah. But Richard, obviously, there's a lot of questions coming in as well from Evertonians. Your time at Everton, do you enjoy your time in the Premier League at Everton?
Yes, I did, very much so. And I think because it was, I had to reprove myself, because whenever you move to a different team, it's like you have to start again. You have to prove yourself to the players that you're a good player, because everyone knew it. I was 37 when I went to Everton, and everyone knew I was a decent player. And but you have to. It's like going to a new school or something. You have to reprove yourself to those players. And I can remember going in there at pre-season, having a real good pre-season. And my first game was against Manchester United, who had just won the treble. And I think Evertonian supporters in general were a bit concerned, because they had sold Marco Materazzi for £4 million to, I think, Inter Milan or one of the Italian teams, and got me in on a free transfer. Walter got me in on a free transfer. So I was under, I wouldn't say I was under any pressure, but I was under, I don't think Evertonians were too delighted that we're getting a 37-year-old in. But after the first game against Manchester United, where we played pretty well, and I played quite well myself, I think they saw that I could help the team in a certain way. And I had a very good season. That first season I was at Everton. So, it was a great football club. They understood their football. I always think Glasgow and Liverpool are two similar cities football-wise, because of both sets of supporters understand their teams, and they've seen many good players as well. So they understood their football. So it was a great ending for me to end at Everton.
Yeah, and quote me if I'm wrong, but was it Walter was the last manager to? Was it so many years Everton that went without winning at Anfield? And Walter, do you play in that game? The game where Everton turned them over?
Yes, yeah. That was about my 7th or 8th game for Everton when we played. We got the victory there. Kevin Campbell scored. And I can remember Gerrard coming in as a young substitute. He was about 18 years old. And he took Kevin Campbell about the neck, had a tackle around about the neck. And I just said to the referee, there's pictures of it, I'm grabbing him away from Kevin. And I just said to the referee, he's got to go for that,
Yeah.
And the referee went, absolutely, Mr. Gough. And he just pulled out the red card, and Gerrard was off about three minutes after having come on the field or something, So...
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
So we beat them 1-0. We beat them 1-0 that night. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay. Well, obviously, before we go, Mark, do you see that Richard's already talked about today's game? Did you see the Rangers game today, Mark?
Yes, I did indeed.
How were you impressed?
At times, yeah, but we're still the same problems for me. And Richard can probably talk about them better than me, and he probably has done about the defensive frailties. But an attacking outfit, I thought we did pretty well in the transitional periods through the lines quickly. But defending still needs a good old looking at. That straight ball should never be doing what it's doing to our team. And you understand that, Richard, what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yes, of course. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Too many times that's happened, but
it's a straight ball.
I just said to Gary that I think the last two games has been the level of intensity has been much better. Trying to get the ball back quick. When the other team's got the ball and they've got it back. So that's been. I don't think it could have been any worse than it had been on the Sunday against Hibs, but this season in general has just been a wee bit off, I think, with a lot of things. So, and that's what you got to work at straight away is when the other team get the ball, try and get it back as quickly as possible, and then you go from there.
Okay, we'll take two more questions, and the first one's for Marcus from Curry Muncher. What's Mark's thoughts on Sakala as Alfie's replacement?
Yeah, different sort of a player though. I think Fashion is, he likes to run behind defences. I think that's a strength to his game. His pace. He's also got a really good leap. Standing jump is really, really good as well. As we saw for the goal today, it's a standing jump, which is the most difficult. But different sorts of players. If you want a defence, stretching. Then Fashion Sakala is your man. He'll run behind and he'll stretch and he'll run with the ball. He'll take people on. He's a young player. Alfie's that sort of, the more solid player. The ball goes into him. He's been working on that a lot, I think. The last couple of games, especially for the Thursday night European game, there was a big improvement from him there. He started to do the hard yards. He started to, have a little bit more pride in what he was doing and the energy he was putting in. And as a centre forward and as that number 9, in a 3, you have to be working hard all the time, because when Richard will tell you, as soon as our goalkeeper picks the ball up, or Richard picks the ball up, or a fullback picks the ball up, the first look is to your 9 to see where your 9 is, and that's why you have to work hard. And there's no doubt that I think Alfredo has shown it a lot previously, 15 months ago, a couple of years ago, where he scored all the goals, lots of goals. And that game is there. So I know he's been trying really, really hard to build up, to be more involved in the build-up play. But I think sometimes you have to remember what you're good at. And Alfie is good at scoring goals. And I think he has to spend more time doing that than what he's been doing over the previous 18 months. But Sakala is definitely that one will stretch defenders. I know, if when he starts, he's scored a couple of hat tricks in literally 10 days there. So the boy's on a good run at the moment, and on a confident run. He's got that smile on his face, and he's a good. I think he's a good. I'm going to say not standing. He's a good man to be on the shoulder of Alfredo right now. To give him that push.
Yeah, okay. And the final one, obviously, I haven't got it here, it's come through in the phone, is Richard, the back four, obviously, the goals we're conceding. But the question is, what has changed from last season? It's the same defence.
Yeah, it's the same. I heard a stat today that the goal we conceded today that's us conceded 14 goals this year. And we conceded only 13 in the whole of last season. That was some stat,
An exceptional season.
Last season was a bit of the perfect storm, I call it, for us last season. I think, I thought we defended well last season, but we also carried a lot of good fortune. I mean, McGregor was our player of the year, both the players' player of the year, plus the sports writers player of the year. So that tells you a lot. The goalkeeper's the player of the year. So I mean, I thought we carried a bit of good fortune last year in our defence to only concede 13 goals last year. It just hasn't been as fluid right through the team, whether it's the defenders or I just don't think the intensity hasn't been as high as it was last year, and getting the ball back as quick as we did last year. And I definitely think the supporters being back in the stadium, that's definitely made a difference for me. That when we have been going down 1-0, our crowd put a lot of pressure on our players, and that's always the way it's been. And I don't think we've handled that as well as we could have either.
Yeah. Okay, folks. Well, we'll call it tonight because obviously it's 8:15, and Richard's been on for over an hour. So, Mark and Richard, thank you very much for coming on. Great to have you on, two absolute Rangers legends. If you stay on, then I'll come back on and speak to you. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you, Gareth.
Okay, Mark. All right. Thanks, Richard. Thank you.
Cheers.
Okay, folks, there you have it. Obviously, two of the biggest names to play for Rangers. Bit of a surprise getting Mark Hateley on as well. And thanks to Richard Gough joining us. Folks, for anybody down in the south, in the Portsmouth area, Mark Hateley will be down here on the 11th of December. It's the Morecambe game, as far as I'm aware, at Fratton Park. I've had a lot of messages from people to the Blue Heart saying about pubs that would want to promote the game. Mark's just shown us a book. There it is. There you are, Mark.
There you go.
There you go. So the book, that's the book, yeah?
Yeah, that's the book.
Okay. Cheers, Mark. So Mark will be down on the 11th for the game. I'm sure it's Baffins on the Friday night are looking to have Mark. And then before the game on the Saturday, Mark will be doing probably a Q&A and a book signing in a pub, or maybe two pubs in Portsmouth. And all the pubs that have sent me your details, folks, I've forwarded them all to Mark's people. So you're getting a call or an email from the people that's helping Mark sort that out. So, folks, I hope you enjoyed the podcast, and I'll see you next week. Good night, folks.